Here with me, Al Garrido, ESA League Director. Good news coming for student athletes. The Interscholastic Sports Association Board of Control sent out a press release talking about the start date and block schedule for sports. Official practices slated for January 25th.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're excited. Of course, all of these plans are in place. We're just now, I guess our next step as we're getting everything ready is just getting the approval from the governor to push forward with all our plans.
And of course, safety will be the #1 priority. What steps will be made to ensure the safety of athletes and coaches?
Well, preemptive of everything, we want our coaches to be fully educated and to understand just the ramifications of their responsibilities. We want them to know that they are going to be the front line basically for all our kids. So we're going to be providing training where we are requiring this year that they take COVID-19 training that is offered. It's free, as a matter of fact. Anyone can take this one if you guys want to. It's on nfhs.learn, COVID-19 training for coaches. On top of that, if they're GDOE employed, there is COVID-19 training that they had to attend as well. And then finally, there's going to be a mandatory COVID-19 training that's going to be offered from GNOC, which will entail some of the things that they would already have learned, as well as the type of training and practices that they can do during this type of time.
And ESA also working with the Department of Public Health, making sure that everything's in place in order for practice to actually start for these athletes.
Yes, definitely. We're following all their guidelines. At the current time, we believe it's 15 or 20. We don't know what it might be on January 25th in one location. As a matter of fact, the governor's order came out and it also stated no contact during practices as well. And we're going a little bit extra step too, where we're following all the other protocols, including daily symptom screening, temperature checks, sanitizing of equipment, separating of the students or student athletes during training, as well as practicing in pods to allow for groups to be in certain areas rather than an entire team.
Will the coaches be getting help, or is it faculty and athletic directors who will be helping out with these checks and monitoring the athletes?
We're going to leave the responsibility with the coaches and the assistant coaches at the moment right now. So it's going to be similar. Usually athletes will just arrive in the gym and just walk in and they start. They're going to have to check in with their coaches first. They're going to have to do the temperature screen, the daily symptom screening. And then, of course, coaches will have inline protocols for their athletes. For example, when they come in, there will be certain areas they can sit, which will be monitoring the social distance protocols. And they'll all probably have to wait until everyone's ready to start. And practices are going to be modified. I already spoke to a couple of coaches on ideas to modify team practices to allow to make sure that we follow the safety guidelines.
As far as venues, have there been a decision on certain venues, or would it be still home teams that have home games there be able to host those games?
Yes, right now, if we're looking at games, now that's the next step after practices. Game-wise, again, that's another thing that needs to be approved on top of practices with the governor. And game-wise, we're going to have to, right now, there's no spectators at any of the games. And yes, it will be home teams hosting. There's the limitation of the venue itself that is we'll have to follow. And at the moment right now, it looks like it's just going to be the teams, the coaches, the game staff, officials will be present at these games. We're going to try to be very creative and include at least 1 or 2 event, maybe live event staff that can like broadcast the games on Facebook Live or Instagram Live. So those are things we're discussing as we move forward.
And what about media as far as, being able to take pictures and videos of games?
Well, media is actually next on the list. If you look at our breakdown, it's all the first group. High priority is the officials, game staff, coaches and players, right? So that's the highest. And actually, the next on the list is media. And the reason why media is next on the list before parents is because with the presence of media, we can allow for more parents to be involved, more people. If you guys can broadcast games or even take photos of games, more parents can be involved in learning results and actually seeing what's going on in the games in the media point of view. And then after media would be parents and fans.
The remainder of the school year is going to be split into 2 blocks now, low-risk sports being first, cross-country girls and boys volleyball, softball, and tennis. The decision-making process for splitting up the sports, was that based on athletic directors and staff and faculty?
Yes, the athletic directors, I call them like the heart and soul of the whole program. I mean, they have years and years of experience. They have years and years of discussing with coaches and students and admin. So they're like right in the middle of everyone. They are the gurus, I would say. So yeah, the decision to split it into 2 to allow for us to have a sports season was a unanimous decision with all the 6 athletic directors, as well as the decision on the type of sports to be offered on the first block and on the second block. So it was all unanimous. We all really are just basing on a couple of things. Number one is the situation at the moment, right? What's going on? What's the guidelines at the moment? And also the understanding that this is a new year and that we're going to have to really make decisions based on the fact that we just want to get a sports season out there and that it is a new year. There's going to be changes that people might not accept, but there's going to be a lot of changes that people are going to accept. And one of the biggest thing is that we are going to really work at trying to get a sports season started.
Well, props to those athletic directors for making these tough decisions and coming together, making that push for our student athletes. Some of the sports that didn't make the cut because of safety concerns: football, wrestling, rugby, and paddling, of course.
Yeah, that I still recall that decision. It was a very quiet one, and it was tough for them. It was with a deep sigh, but also a realization from the athletic directors that we held out as long as possible. And in order to have a successful season, to run as many sports as we could, we needed to look at what we were considering the high-risk sports and what was the risk versus the reward. And we just could not outweigh the reward. It just could not outweigh what the risks were. And so, I mean, I still remember it was a really quiet vote. We asked what we were going to do, and it was just real quiet, but all 6 do understand that the decision that had to be made for the safety of our athletes. And it was a two-part decision too. One of the things was we really did want the athletes to have an opportunity early on to know what was going to go on through the school year, because if we had waited after block 1 to try and see, then a lot of these maybe football, wrestling, or athletes might have wanted to do something during block 1, but they were waiting for block 2, and we didn't want to put that on their table. We wanted to give them as much notice now, so that if they were planning to go to apply for schools and so forth and use their senior season stats and so forth, that they know that now they would have to apply and use their junior season stats if possible and say, hey, this is what I've got. COVID affected this, which the entire world is going through that. And so we wanted to give these guys enough notice. We felt it's our responsibility to make sure that they had enough time to make those decisions.
So this year's season is going to be a 6 to 7 week schedule. It doesn't seem like there's going to be any interleague play with IIAG, but what's the response been like with student athletes reaching out to their coaches and, asking about the season and how many games will they be having?
Well, right now I'm thinking most of the responses are, what do we do to start? So most of the questions are, how can we start? And we do know some coaches that are already reaching out to their athletes and giving them workout plans on their own that they can do between now and January 25th. Because January 25th is when the first time that the teams would be allowed to meet officially and to go through all the protocols that we just spoke about. Game-wise, we do have a tentative schedule that's actually going to go out first to the coaches, and then we'll that might make it out to the media as well as we look through it. But we do have tentative schedules to go with those sports too. So the athletes will get a chance to see those in due time as well.
And I think the main thing too is just having the parents, relax a little bit, stay calm and just wait it out, because as long as we get our athletes onto the playing field first, then I guess the next step would be allowing the parents in. So they definitely have to be a little patient.
Oh, yes. I mean, we're all following that same mantra, be kind, understand that it's a new year, understand that there's going to be changes. We're not going to make everybody happy, but we want to make sure that we do provide what our job is, which is a successful, safe league to get our kids out there. We need them to get out there as soon as possible. I think IAG did mention that. Terry DeBow did mention that as well. They follow the same feelings that we have, which is we want to get our kids out there and participating and playing as safely as long as it's safe. We want to be able to provide that for them.
And for more information, where should students and parents be checking out as far as social media, just to get the latest update?
Okay, well, we will be, we sent out press releases, and we will be updating our ISA social media as well with as much information. But the best information that they can get is directly from the schools. They should get a hold of their athletic directors, their coaches. They should get a hold of the schools themselves. They should fill out their ISA student packets already because just to play sports, you're going to need to fulfill certain things, just like the same requirements it would be to go to school. You'll need to have your PPD updated. You would need to have your physicals updated. You would need to make sure that all of those things are in line before you participate. So yeah, the schools would be the first line.
And anything in particular coaches should be aware of when applying for positions?
No, actually, we're trying to keep it as streamlined as possible, as simple as possible. The only thing we included, again, this year was the COVID-19 training. And we're going to really put a lot of emphasis on that coaches need to take their time. It would be nice to have a season, but it's going to be even more nice to have a season where without any incidences and we went as smooth as possible. As a matter of fact, we are even engaging officials now, starting to discuss with them what they would need to do, what kind of things that we're expecting from them.